the legislature on this historic week. My name is Della, Belatti, and I'm House Majority Leader. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties. Thank you for hanging in there with us. I'm really happy to be joined by Vice Speaker Mark Nakashima from the Big Island. So,
good morning, everybody.
Representative Nakashima, from your perspective, what is this session been like so far?
Oh, it's been an interesting session with social distancing. We have members, everybody and spread out the gallery chamber. It's a little so.
So, as part of a number of tenants in once recess, a lot of put into thinking about how we open. And so, what was your experience going through the line? I mean, we now have a single entry point into the Capitol as well as temperature check. How do you think that procedure?
Well, I think that the precautionary measures that we're taking are really important. And so, it's a little inconvenient, but I think it's a necessary precaution, especially in this day and age.
I think what's going to happen is as we continue both with this beginning of the session, and it looks like we'll be assessing again, that this is going to be part of kind of the normal with us for a little while because we don't really know how long.
Yeah. Sorry, Della, you cut out there at the end.
Oh, I'm very sorry. I think I'm also having technical difficulties with my sound. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
All right. So we know that there's a number of bills that's being considered by both the House and the Senate. We're really looking at stabilizing the budget, in part because we know that there are a lot of people hurting out there. We want to avoid drastic budget cuts as well as furlough Fridays. Can you share with us a little bit about what's been happening at unemployment?
Oh yeah. So since the legislature took a recess, we have been hearing over and over again difficult the difficulties that people were having in trying to register for unemployment insurance. Long and people would spend and so especially the House, the members of the House, the administration, and opened up first a processing center to help with individuals move their applications forward. After 7 weeks, this past Saturday, phones are added to each desk in the processing center. And so the processing center has now become a call center, and we are dealing with hundreds of individual inquiries now about their unemployment insurance problems and the helping the employees really navigate the bureaucracy.
So my understanding was that there was some good news from the call center. Wait times are now maybe 15 to 20 minutes. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's my understanding. On Saturday, as we were going through the queue, every time I pick up the phone, it tells me there are 99 people waiting. And, the queue is 100 people. So all day, Saturday, there were kind of 99 people all day. Yesterday afternoon, when I was down at the call center, the queue was we've cleared up a lot of the people that are waiting, and the number of people waiting we're down to 30. So I think that's a sign that we are addressing the problem and trying to get to as many people as we can.
Can you also comment? I believe that we set up a new system where people, based on their last names, are supposed to call in on certain days. Where can people find out about that?
Yeah, one of the things we did do is set up a to give names of certain days because when we're well, with our radio since then, we are, it's really working to the cloud, and so a lot of us there simultaneously and not have to wait for the mainframe to process applications.
So again, it's been a really journey for folks, both all the volunteers, and I know that the legislative staff have really stepped up. From our own staff members, representatives, I see there they've been going on 3 weeks, being there, as well as members. I know the minority is going to be coming on later, HMSO and our legislative reference bureau. So I really want to shout out to all of those volunteers, all of those state employees who really came together to help their residents in need. So looking forward, Vice Speaker, what are some of your thoughts about what we're going to be able to accomplish in this 6 to 10 days that we're reconvening this week?
Well, I think that one of the things that we are looking at is creating a little more stability in the state and trying to uh, get through this difficulty with the least amount of hurt. And one of the things that we are looking at doing is being able to put $1 billion into the rainy day fund to ensure that the cuts are not necessary at this point in time. That there are smarter ways to deal with the economic problems as opposed to just draconian 20% across the board kind of cut. And with that, we continue flexibility going forward.
Well, I think you're right on point. We're going to be continuing to monitor the situation as well as make sure that all of the state are taken care of without having to drastic cuts in production. Thank you, Vice Speaker, for joining us, and thank you, Alelo, for having us on at Live at the Legislature. Aloha, and we'll see you next week at the Legislature.
Aloha and welcome back to Live at the Legislature. I'm the Senate Communications Director, Jesse Broder Van Dyke. My guest this week is Senator Kahele, who represents Hilo on Hawaii Island. With the reconvening of the legislature this week, Senator Kahele is joining his colleagues in the Senate while still on full-time National Guard duty as a member of the Hawaii National Guard's COVID-19 Joint Task Force response. He's one of the first guardsmen in the entire country to serve as an elected official in an official capacity while still on full-time National Guard duty, dedicated to the country's COVID-19 national emergency response. Senator Kahele, thank you so much for joining us.
Aloha.
As a lieutenant, aloha. As a lieutenant colonel with the Hawaii Air National Guard, you were activated to active duty on April 14th. What have you been doing for the past month on this pandemic response?
Well, I joined the joint task force that was stood up in early April to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic across the state of Hawaii. And, myself, along with almost 1,300 National Guardsmen, both airmen and soldiers across the state, are participating in the COVID-19 response. And so I came over to Honolulu, working out of the Joint Task Force headquarters, and basically working on the movement of troops and airmen all over the state to support the different counties and their relief efforts and requests for relief and requests for support that they've been channeling through HAIMA, through their respective emergency management agencies.
And the president recently extended your and your fellow service members' orders until the 24th of June. So what should we expect in the coming months of this pandemic response?
Well, that's true. The president just extended the orders until the 24th of June. And so we're in a unique situation here in Hawaii where we have the federal government that has decentralized that effort and support to the various states and their respective governors, but is essentially footing the bill. And so most of us, at least all of us here in Hawaii and most of the other guardsmen across the country are all on Title 32 status, which basically means the federal government is paying the bill and the respective governors retain control over their National Guardsmen. And so initially it was a 31-day activation. Most of us came on with orders ending about the middle of May. That was extended to the 31st of May. And then it was just extended this weekend to the 24th of June. And so, we have a unique opportunity here in Hawaii when money is tight and budgets are tight, where we have, over 1,200 National Guardsmen that have been essentially mobilized and are activated, serving here throughout the state. And it doesn't cost the state of Hawaii taxpayers any money out of our state general fund or putting them on state active duty or that. So I think what's really important is how we're using those soldiers and airmen. Are we using them to maximum capacity and the optimal use that we can be using them? And I'm just not sure we are.
That's interesting. So we have this federal funding, but you think that the use of the National Guard could be used better?
Absolutely. We have, our National Guardsmen are doing a great job across the state. They're doing temperature screenings at the airport. They're doing security at various different locations where we need that support. They're helping out wherever that different county mayors are requesting their assistance. And we're seeing a pretty good optimal utilization of those forces on the island of Kauai, a pretty decent amount on the island of Maui, and not so good use of our troops on the island of Hawaii Island. So we always look at troop to task. Are we using our troops in the appropriate manner? Typically 70% is what we look for, where we're not burning guys out, but we're also making good use of with them and what are they actually doing. And so that's where I think we can be doing a much better job. The way I look at it as, we potentially, if most of our activation terminates on the 24th of June, we will essentially have had almost 3 months, 90 days, where we have had over 1,200 National Guardsmen across the state. And if we don't have a robust contact tracing program established, if we don't have the unemployment issue solved at the Department of Labor, where we have over 100 people that still haven't received unemployment benefits, and we haven't stood that system up yet, then that is really a waste of people that we could have utilized and underutilized them.
That's good to know. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. You're the majority floor leader and chair of the Water Land Committee, and the legislature resumed its session yesterday. What should we expect to happen in this abbreviated session?
Well, the legislature convened to address a few important bills to supplemental budget that we were working on. and to appropriately allocate how the almost $800 million of federal money through the CARES Act is going to be appropriated. I know they're looking at about $100 million going to Haima, distributing money to the various 3 counties, Hawaii, Maui, and Kauai, that did not receive any funding because of their population counts, which was in the CARES Act bill, and also replenishing the rainy day fund that is going to be currently utilized to help people get through this crisis as well. So that's one thing. And then the other part, at least where I'm directly involved in, is the advise and consent process that the Senate is entrusted and empowered with to hold a confirmation hearing on the governor's messages and the different confirmations to the Waterland Committee's purview. So Department of Land and Natural Resources for the Board of Land and Natural Resources, Island Reserve Commission, Seaworm, Ahamoku, Land Use Commission. We're going to have a robust hearing tomorrow. We have 38 nominees that the Waterland Committee will be hearing and to send their nominations to the full Senate for a vote.
And all of those hearings and Senate floor proceedings will be live on Olelo and on Naleo on Hawaii Island. So thank you so much to the crew at Olelo for helping us provide public access while the building is closed. And thank you so much, Senator Kahele, for joining us. On a personal note, I know you have a young family. How's your family and your wife handling this pandemic crisis?
I mean, they're okay. I imagine like most families throughout Hawaii, it's tough right now. Kids were abruptly pulled out of school. Things were closed. And it was a big disturbance in many people's lives. And, for myself personally, having to come here to Oahu and lead my family, like most other guardsmen across the state that have deployed to the various counties, many of them missed being with their wives and mothers on Mother's Day this past Sunday. And so I know it's tough on our families, and it's tough on many people who are struggling right now. And especially those that have been laid off, lost their job. It's something we need to address as a state. On a personal note, today's my wife's birthday. And so she's in Hilo today, and I just want to wish my wife, Maria, a haole lahanau, a happy birthday. And I just want to tell her I love her. And thanks for raising our kids and holding the fort down while I've been gone.
Awesome. Happy birthday, Maria. And thank you so much for joining us, Senator. And thank you to you and all your National Guardsmen for your service during this critical time. And thanks to everyone at home for joining us this morning on Live at the Legislature. Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you. Mahalo.
What are you doing? We have to go. I'm gonna be late for work.
It's Tuesday morning. I gotta record Live at the Legislature on Olelo. Senate and House leadership discussing what's happening at the state capitol.
So just watch it on the news tonight. Come on, let's go.
Hey, this is like getting the news before it's news. If only I could get this remote to work.
There. Can we go now?
No DVR? No problem. Watch Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. on Channel 49.
Aloha and welcome back to Live at the Legislature. I'm Kaialii Lindsay, your host for the Legislative Minority. Yesterday, the legislature reconvened for the first time in roughly 2 months since March 16th when the state capitol closed down. And joining us this morning is Representative Gene Ward. He serves as the House Minority Leader and represents House District 17, which runs from Ho'ikai through Kalama Valley. Representative Ward, good morning.
Aloha. Good morning, Kyle. Can you see I'm wearing the uniform of the day? Senator Kahele and I got our ties on because we're in session.
Yeah,
You're
I'll
not
be
dressed
putting
yet.
mine on pretty soon too.
I was going to say, I'm coming out of my office in Hawaii Valley, but we're going to go back to day number 2 and do the business of the people.
So Rep. Ward, what are your thoughts on the first day? It was a historic day. What's your take?
Let me be a little bit mellow in a way that, we are social animals, and I never realized it to the extent that when I saw you and Diamond yesterday in the office, it was kind of a social delight. I mean, yeah, because you guys are
From 6
super
feet
looking
apart.
and all that, so efficient. And we were 6 feet apart, but it was like that sense of it being a social being really became clear. And, and as we've isolated, and, every day we have our Zoom meetings. So I see you always electronically, but there's still something unreal electronically versus when you're actually eyeball to eyeball, face mask to face mask. So that was a first impression. The second one was, utilization of space in the Capitol. We had 25 of our members on the floor, 25 up in the belt. And it shows you can have actually big meetings if you space it properly. I thought Rod did a great job of organizing how we sit, where we sit, how the microphones really, you didn't have to touch it. And, we went through 70 bills, probably not a lot of important ones, except for one that I stood out and I actually spoke. It's about the COVID testing for the long-term care centers. Anyone who's followed the data has seen where upwards to 80% of the deaths on the mainland have come out of the long-term care and nursing center. The fact that we have a bill that's going to fund that, and I said on the floor, not only to fund testing there, but to me, testing is the key to our whole recovery, of our reopening of the economy, of giving people who are now unemployed, they are on the sidelines of employment, give them confidence to go back to their work, whether it's in a hotel or whether it's in an office. And testing is the key. Now, if you and I were going into the White House in the next 5 minutes, we would get tested. We'd have our results immediately. That is available. That is something we should have. We should not spare any involvement. Representative McDermott and I are also working on a way of reopening the economy by testing visitors 72 hours before they arrive. If we, the mantra is, if we build it, they will come. The mantra now is, if Hawaii is not safe, they won't come. And we got to make sure that those visitors feel safe. Getting on the airplane, getting off after their temperature check in the airport at Hawaii, getting into their Uber or whatever, getting into their hotel, knowing that they are not going to endanger our employees and our employees are not going to endanger them. So yesterday's testing bill to me was very key. And the fact that we're going to have a pandemic planning unit tells me that the House is really into the ballgame of making sure that this pandemic is cut down, sliced away, and put as a historical thing on the ash heap of history.
Now, for the budget shortfall, it seems that the legislature and the executive are on different pages as far as what exactly the deficit is. Governor says 1.5 billion, legislature says roughly 1 billion. What's your take on that?
And Representative Ward says probably closer to 2 billion. My office with you and all of our workers, we would crunch the numbers every day, and we did a projection. I want to say that we said there would be a light in the middle of May, light at the end of the tunnel. We are now on the 12th of May. Everything that we crunched our numbers for kind of have been coming out. By the end of this month, we have really a lot of light. Even on the mainland, they've opened up restaurants, some even bars, actually. But the budget to me is not going to be difficult to plug, but it's going to be bigger than what has been estimated. We have got 257 special funds with monies that haven't been tapped for 5 years. We've got a line of credit from the feds, which we can use. We've got a rainy day fund we can use. We got the CARES Act. So we should be able to get over this hump, just like a family or just like a business. You go through a HELOC, you do a home equity loan if you're going to have a bare spot in your finances. If you're in a company, you do the same thing. We can get through this. It's only that we have to be wise and have full trust and confidence in Sylvia Luke as the chair of finance.
And Rep. Ward, you were here during the Great Recession in 2009. How does this compare to that?
In 2009, we were grabbing for money, cutting programs, cutting everybody's budget. In fact, we're still now only recovering, I think, on the mental health taken away. Irony, interestingly, we're going to take away some of the money. Sylvia's program does pull on some of that money. We had to do almost $2.something billion, almost $3 billion, when Governor Lingle was in the Great Recession seat at the governor's office. That's where, when cuts came, furloughs came, everybody got angry, but we did make it through. So in comparison to your question, not that this is going to be a cakewalk, but I don't think it's going to be as devastating. Look, our economy is like a NASCAR racing engine. We have been sitting in the garage. We get to start it up every 2 days or something. And you and I also sitting at home, sitting here in Hawaii Valley. We are built for speed. We're built for economic development. We're built to rev up our engines and go. And that's the frustration that I think people are seeing now. General Hara said yesterday, and I hope to not misquote him, that, hey guys, let's get this economy opened up, or there could be civil disobedience, or even he used the R word, rioting. I doubt that's going to take place, but it could be the extreme. And I'm going to go back to testing now, because if we don't test those visitors, they come and say, for example, somebody in Molokai dies. Molokai is already protesting, hey, visitors, go home and take your disease with you. We've got a really dangerous situation. If we get another wave 2 that comes out of a tourist and we haven't tested, it's going to be the egg and the responsibility on our watch that we have not paid attention to science. And that's the whole bottom line of when we open. We've got to do it scientifically, but we can't dilly-dally and procrastinate and just do this, well, yeah, maybe this, maybe that. We got to get on the same sheet of music, governor, county mayors, and legislature. This is a time when you need a Rudy Giuliani, a leadership. You need a Governor Cuomo, a leader. These are not the times to equivocate, to contemplate your navel. Well, maybe this, maybe that. We need leadership. And I think from what Speaker Psyche said yesterday, House is going to be a player in getting us out of this rut and getting back into the mainstream of the economy.
Rep. Ward, 30 seconds left. Any thoughts on the rest of this week?
Only that people should know we're getting through this. Our business is as usual. We had Frank DeLima at our Beer Summit last week. Before that, we had Mufi Hanneman. We are serving constituent services, and there's hope out there for you, gig economy. They finally got a website open, and fortunately, we learned that they now have a cloud, i.e. a software solution to getting your unemployment registration and actually now even answering your phone calls, thanks to a lot of the things that Sylvia Lucas put. So the point is, we're going to get out of this. We're at the beginning of the end of this whole, or the end of the beginning of this whole coronavirus, and we're going to get through it because together we're strong. We're a racehorse ready to go out and run again, and it's up to us leadership to make sure that the people can do that. Having said that, I'm very bullish on the future.
House Minority Leader Gene Ward, Representative, thank you for joining us this morning. I will see you later today in uniform. And to the viewers,
and with your tie on, sir. Yes. Aloha, everybody.
Mahalo.